Welcome back. Now, since South Africa lost its foot and mouth disease-free status in 2019, the outbreak has intensified, largely due to a shortage of vaccinations. Between January 2024 and January 26, over 210,000 dairy cattle were affected on more than 90 farms. President Cyril Ramaphosa has now officially declared the outbreak a national disaster, with plans to vaccinate the national herd of 14 million cattle. Thabile Nkunjana, senior economist in the Trade Research Unit at the National Agricultural Marketing Council, joins us with his take on the move and its implications for meat producers, consumers and the economy at large. Hi Thabile, good to have you with us on Business Lunch. Right, it's been declared a national disaster. What exactly does this mean? What can we expect from government now?
Good afternoon to you, Ray, and Business Day viewers. The state now, the government being able to actually eventually put this as a disaster. I think it comes in a bit late for some of the people, but unfortunately, it was not an easy call, as there are a couple of things that need to be followed, before some serious consultation across board, so that a decision like that is to be made. But eventually it was made, and I think after that, declaration, it now is going to assist in terms of speeding up the process, because you'll recall that there's a lot of mobilization that needs to be done, to address this issue. And with the president now, working, of course, closely with the minister, eventually putting it as a disaster, now that is going to speed up the process. And we have seen, a number of things, announcements that are being made immediately after that. But generally, the most important thing now is that we know that we are dealing with a national disaster problem. And as a result, a lot of attention is to be put into that so that we can address the problem itself.
Yeah. Why are we so late to the party? I mean, this started in 2019. There were warnings there. Why are we only getting these mass vaccinations or vaccines coming in now? What's the backstory?
I think, Ray, as much as, we have seen this has been increasingly becoming a problem, especially for some of the guys that are within the trading space. We have seen a couple of countries from time to time, banning imports from South Africa because of this. But because, normally we have these issues for some time now, it goes back to some early 2000s, where we'll see these sporadic outbreaks and diseases. And we've been fortunate in terms of somehow the steps that will be put forward then, they seem to be effective, and then as a result, we find that we'll have a disease in 1-2 provinces and then we're okay again. But I think just because of that, we've delayed, the overall putting the attention that it really needed. And as a result, we came to see ourselves to the stage the way we are now because of the lack of attention, and of course the number of the programs and the regulations that tend to be put, especially since 2024, when we've seen the increase as a result. As of early this year, there have been around 8 to 9 provinces that have been infected by this, but before it was not the case. But I guess because of the desperation in terms of the farmers, the producers themselves, and other people trying to address the situation.
Yeah. What's the bottom line here? What are we looking at when you're talking about losses to our cattle herd? What's the bottom line?
The reality, unfortunately, Ray, for the livestock sector, we are seeing that, for instance, the data for 2025, exports in value terms are down around 10%. And that is around, so in 2024, our export for beef alone, they amounted to around 3.6 billion. But as of last year, that is down about 3.2 billion, which is, one would say, it's not too much, but it is, if what saved that industry is based because of the commodity prices across the world. But then if you are to look into the quantities, we are down around 25%. So about 10 tons of beef that we exported in 2024 was not exported last year. And this is mainly or directly because of this. So in exports terms, it has serious implications. And of course, for the herd, domestically, the a lot of guys that are battling to hit the cost of maintaining their current stocks, in terms of keeping them ready for the market because of the restrictions and movement and so forth. So generally, the economic impact for everyone that is involved across the livestock industry is really feeling the implications of this.
Yeah, it really is quite a massive story, and the repercussions, like you say, are huge. A story from the weekends, the Western Cape doing its own thing, getting its own vaccines in. Why is that? Is it desperation because they're not coming fast enough, or is that the Western Cape being the Western Cape?
So I mean, first off, that the minister, is involved in every movement that is happening across the country, irrespective of the province. In fact, even the vaccines themselves that were to be trialed and put into the Western Cape are from government, the ARC, which is producing at least now around 20,000 doses per week, which remains relatively smaller because we really need to increase that capacity, because if we are to produce 20,000 doses per week, we are looking something around 1 million per year, which is very small compared to what we need. So, of course, Western Cape is desperate, like any provinces, like KZN. I've been talking to some farmers. I was traveling, between Free State, KZN, and Gauteng. A lot of farmers are desperate for this, but of course, it's not going to be an easy thing to resolve. I mean, we've been saying this for some time, given the scale that it is escalated to. But I think I'm glad now that the pressure that has been put on is really getting to the stage, and there's a lot of movement. But unfortunately, whilst we are doing that, we need to be very careful, because we might take, because of the speed of the pressure, we might end up even making these things kind of get out of hand even worse, and having more negative consequences. So as much as it's desperation for farmers, but I think it also remains important that we still, stick to one of the, stick together in terms of addressing this,
Sure.
and of course involving the key stakeholders into it.
Yeah, keep the plan. Thabile, thank you so much. Good to chat to you on Business Lunch. Thanks for taking the time. That was Thabile Nkunjana, senior economist in the Trade Research Unit at the National Agricultural Marketing Council.